Jimmy Kimmel's late-night show has been suspended indefinitely. Now, the thing was probably on life support anyway. Of course, Stephen Colbert's show, he replaced the legendary David Letterman. His show's already been given marching orders for next year. Now, I don't think late shows have the audience that they once did. They cost a lot of money to make. So that sort of programming is over. But Kimmel's been pulled by the ABC in the US for comments about Charlie Kirk's death. And I want to talk about cancel culture more broadly and how it's played into the fallout of Kirk's assassination. But this is what Kimmel said that's had him pulled.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger-pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half-staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks? They just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish.
Now, clearly what he said at first is wrong. We know the alleged murderer is not MAGA. He might have Republican parents, but he's clearly a radical left-winger. He had stuff etched on his bullet casings about fascists. He has a transgender lover. So he's just wrong, full stop, on that point. But after that indiscretion, he decides to make a joke. Now, sure, Trump's comments were a bit odd, but, a bloke's just been killed. Let's hold off on the jokes for a minute. It's not edgy, it's not speaking truth to power, it's just a bit icky, it's not right. So Kimmel's gone. Will anyone miss him? I don't know. But I have to tell you, my first reaction was, well, does he really deserve to lose his job for that? I mean, I think perpetuating the lie about the alleged murderer is probably worse than the joke, in all honesty, even though the joke was in bad taste. And I suppose as a broadcaster, there's an element of, well, there, but for the grace of God go I. I could say something a bit stupid or a bit blue on air tonight and be sacked tomorrow. So I don't necessarily want to be seen to be gloating about people losing their jobs, because in effect what we are talking about here is a form of cancel culture. Someone says something you don't like, you campaign to have them sacked or banished from public life, and that's something that's been used against many people on the right of politics by people on the left. They wage campaigns to have people sacked and cancelled and made persona non grata because of something they've said or done that they deem to be wrong. And in many cases it's been successful. Beyond just people who've actually been cancelled by the left, there are myriad others who now self-censor because they worry that if they don't, they will be cancelled. So after Kirk is shot and killed, you have all these heartless ghouls on the left come on, whether it be on social media or the traditional media, and mock and celebrate a political murder. And these people often have their employers listed publicly online, so people have been reporting these posts to employers and people are being fired.
This morning, some harsh critics of Charlie Kirk are now looking for new jobs.
Cobb County Schools placing an unknown number of employees on leave after officials said the workers made comments on social media about the conservative activist who was killed last week.
The recent comments are a reminder of freedom of speech that does not necessarily mean freedom of consequences.
Atlanta News First anchor Gravir Dinza joins us now with the discourse. Good morning, Gravir.
Good morning to both of you. There's so many people talking about this very issue.
Vice President J.D. Vance hosted the Charlie Kirk show this week. He said people should call employers if they see people celebrating his murder.
Civil society, Charlie understood this well, is not just something that flows from the government. It flows from each and every one of us. It flows from all of us. So when you see someone celebrating Charlie's murder, call them out. And hell, call their employer. We don't believe in political violence, but we do believe in civility. And there is no civility in the celebration of political assassination.
And again, my initial reaction is that what these people are saying is awful, but do they really deserve to lose their jobs? As a rule, I don't like cancel culture. This is a form of cancel culture. But then I've listened to the way that people who've been targeted for their comments on Kirk's death have responded to the backlash and the threats and the potential firings. Have a listen to this chap, Scott Lucas. He's a professor of international politics at University College Dublin.
I need to say from the outset that the celebration of murder is not justified in any case. It's not justified in this case, but we are not talking here just simply about being respectful over Charlie Kirk. We're talking about an effort by the Trump administration, and let's be honest, by some groups, especially on the far right, to exploit Kirk's death to crack down on those whom they perceive to be their political enemies and to extend their power.
Sorry. Hang on a minute. Bloke gets shot dead in the neck in front of crowd. Now it's people on the right are exploiting the death to suppress those that they don't believe in the same politics. You realise the guy was shot dead, right? So here's the thing. As I said before, I don't like cancel culture. I don't like the idea of people losing their jobs for saying things that other people don't like. I'll say it again. There but for the grace of God go I. Sometimes free speech does mean defending the right of people to say things that you don't like. But what would happen if the shoe was on the other foot? What would happen if a prominent left-wing activist and commentator was shot dead in front of a crowd and right-wingers started celebrating and mocking it online? Do you think the left would say, oh, well, you know, it's just their right to free speech. I'll leave them alone? Of course not. They love cancel culture. They created it. They'd be straight on the phone to employers and starting petitions and the whole shebang. If I came on air and made the sort of joke that Kimmel did, but it was about a left-wing person being shot, I'd be out of a job. And so in some respect, this is just the left getting a taste of their own medicine. Again, I'll reiterate that as a rule, I don't like cancel culture, and I don't think it's something that the right and those of us who believe in freedom should engage in regularly and with the sort of viciousness that the left does, because that would make us no better than them. I don't want to race to the bottom where we're all fighting in the gutter because that's where our opponents have led us. But in this case, I think there's an element of live by the sword, die by the sword. We didn't write the rules on this. They did. And now they're seeing how it feels. And that is not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. And in fact, it's not even fighting fire with fire. It was bullet fire that started all of this. It was cancel culture in the most extreme way possible that started all of this. Charlie Kirk was cancelled with a bullet forever. He wasn't just banished to obscurity for saying the wrong thing. He was killed. That is cancel culture in the extreme. And some on the left then celebrate that death and mock that death, but then cry foul when the tables are turned on them, not with a bullet, but just with the threat of consequences for their actions. The left has so often tried to cancel people on the right, not for saying or doing things that are physically harmful or dangerous to anyone, but simply for saying things that they don't like or that they don't think you should be able to say. It's that attitude that wound up with Charlie Kirk being shot dead in broad daylight. These sewer rats on the left aren't being cancelled and fired simply for saying something we don't like or something that doesn't harm people. It's happening because they are celebrating and mocking death and political violence, actual, demonstrable, physical harm. So while, yes, I don't like cancel culture, I think this is a long overdue taste of their own medicine. They would do it to us for far less. And unlike when they do it, it's happening to them for good reason. Let's not embrace cancel culture, but for once, let's just let them see it how it feels.